Just checking, ladies, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Super. I think we have gone into start the broadcast, but we are 5 minutes. So if we just, I'll mute myself, but I'll leave it on this page or this slide at the moment until attendees start coming on board. Hi attendees, we're just waiting for more people to sign on. This is just a holding page for you. We shall be starting at 11 o'clock. Thank you for waiting. Hi, the numbers are going up, so we just have a couple of minutes and we will be starting this presentation at 11 o'clock. Thank you for waiting. Well, good morning, everybody. It's now 11 o'clock, and thank you for those of you who have signed on and you're waiting for the webinar to start. We will start now. The numbers are climbing, but obviously, without further ado. So really, it's just a big hello to everyone and welcome to today's webinar, which is aimed at EPA. We will be covering all the standards that we provide EPA for, the on program for, and EPA for. We will be allowing you time to ask questions. We will try to answer those questions during the webinar. If we don't answer them during the webinar, we will definitely pick them up at the end because we have set time out for that. So let's do a bit of housekeeping. We're going to be viewing the agenda. My name's Sarah Pipioda and I'm your technical advisor for hair and beauty. And joining me today is our industry manager, Emma McKay, and our lead independent endpoint assessor, Diane Mitchell. And we're also joined with one of our EPA partnership managers, Rebecca Hollenby. And Rebecca will be giving you an update on EPA Pro and would also be around to answer any specific questions you may have on the EPA Pro. So here we go. So this is a little bit of a technology check. Can you please confirm that you can hear me? If you can just raise your hand and one of my colleagues will check that everything's okay. The function is on the GoToWebinar toolbar, which is in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Please use the question box function to enter your questions if you have any, and we will be monitoring these questions throughout the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and you will receive a copy if you have registered, which you have because you wouldn't be here if you hadn't, and you will also be receiving a CPD certificate following this. Okay, so let's go on to the agenda. So we're going to be looking at our, we're giving you a CPD update, which came through yesterday. So this is hot off the press. We will be going through our on-program offers that we have. We will also have a look at our resources, which is a logbook and textbook that have now gone digital, and also our updated rules of combination from October, and this has been updated. We will look at our endpoint assessment offers, and we are going to give you an overview or a refresher of the level 2 beauty professional, the on program and the endpoint assessment. I'm sorry, there is a little bit of a blip there. It says hair professional. It is the beauty professional first. We will be giving you a refresher on the level 2 hair professional, which is on program and endpoint assessment. Diane will be picking up this and she will be looking at our that we are introducing our feedback pass plus for you. Emma will be discussing the future landscape of the level 2 hair professional, and then Diane will be coming back in to look at our level 3 advanced and creative hair professional for the on program, which is a non-mandatory qualification, and the endpoint assessment. I'll come back in to discuss the dispensations, flexibilities and discretions. And then I'm going to hand over to Rebecca Hollenby, who will take a generic look at the EPA Pro, and she'll be telling you how to find or how to use the EPA Pro Feedback Plus. I'll be coming back in there with some good practice and our EPA update, which is lessons learned for beauty more than anything. And we will be looking, sorry, I do have a slide on there for our competition, our digital competition that we have just launched on the 1st of November. So here we go with our CPD. This is just hot off the press. So we just received this yesterday from Habia, and with agreement from regulators across the nations, they decided that CPD flexibilities are supported for a further academic year. So that's obviously for 2021 to 2022, starting from this September to August next year. So the aim again is to carry on continual professional development as recommended due to the excellent resources online that have been put out there since COVID came out 2 years ago. for assessors and verifiers. And again, this will obviously go towards your overall CPD requirements. And City and Guilds, you know, we mirror these flexibilities with support from industry regulators. And I say, as it's been published by Habia last year, and we will be continuing that for the next academic year. So a quick refresher here on our on-program offer at City and Guilds. We have our level 2 beauty professional, which is our 7003. Now on here we have our the full title of that diploma, which is a beauty professional diploma, and we have the beauty therapist and the nail services technician. And as you can see, the QAN number is there for you if you actually need that. Again, for the level 2 hair professional, we have 2 pathways there. We have our hairdressing and barbering with the QAN number, and we have our, it should say level 3 hair professional, which is our level 3 diploma for the advanced and creative hair professional, and that is 7004. And remember, this is a non-mandatory qualification that we have for this qualification. So as you may already know, because Diane and Emma did a webinar while I was off poorly earlier on this academic year regarding our movement to digital from paper. So we are moving from the paper logbooks, learner journals to a digital format. And obviously we do have this basic version on PDF, which you can download from the City and Guilds website. As you can see there, we did cease to, you know, sort of produce these as of August 2021. So as I've stated, you know, we have this PDF version, and they're available on our City and Guilds website. So if you wanted to put in 6008, 7002, 3007, you would see those logbooks available there in that downloadable version for you. There's also additional documents, they were found, sorry, in the additional documents tab on those pages for our hair and beauty qualifications. We also have writable PDF versions where, you know, you or the learner can write into the document and then save it into your own e-portfolios, and they're available from most popular qualifications. They are within our smart screen packages, so I would suggest if you're interested in those, then to contact your business manager or myself, and I can then find out who your business manager is and point them in the right direction, and yourself. So our endpoint assessment offer, we have 4 offers here. We have our beauty professional, which is level 2 for the beauty therapist. We do not hold an offer for endpoint assessment for the nail services technician. We only have the on program, as you could see on the previous slide. We have our endpoint assessment offer for our hairdressing and our barbering, and we also have our endpoint assessment offer for the advanced and creative hair professional. Just going to take you into the beauty therapy standard, which you can see on this slide. It's really much an I-8 slide, so it's important that you all go onto this website, the Institute of Apprentices for Technical Education, because it's on this website that you'll find the assessment plan, and the assessment plan is so important for that endpoint assessment. So all beauty professionals will complete mandatory core skills, knowledge and behaviours for the beauty professional, and that is really integrated into the services that they're delivering, and they are what we look for is professionalism and values, safe working practice, and those core behaviours that they develop during their training. And the areas that we're going to look at is, you know, providing waxing service, nail treatments, foot treatments, facial treatments, lash and brow treatments, makeup application, and body massage, and that is just basic body massage. So if we look at the assessment plan for the beauty therapy qualification. So obviously here we have two assessment methods. We have a knowledge test, and we have observation and questioning. So the knowledge test must be successfully completed before the observation. The knowledge test will be assessed by 40 multiple choice questions and will take an hour for that test. It's online and on demand, so there is no set date or time for that test. The test can be pre-booked for a day and time that suits the apprentice and invigilator, and it must be a minimum of a pass grade achieved before the observation can take place. So if we look at the grading here, each assessment method will be graded a fail, pass or distinction. And to achieve a pass in the knowledge test, the apprentice must basically get a 70%, 70 to 84% of the answers correct in that test. If they're to receive a distinction, then that percentage would move up to 85% and more to gain that distinction. What I have put in here and it is a refresher because we have been running it quite a while, but we haven't gone through as many endpoint assessments as we have with hairdressing, so we're still working on lessons learned. So I put here a sample of a client scenario for the beauty therapist. So I've also got another suggested running order for sensors. So this is there for you, and it's just giving you the exact timings. But again, suggested, you know, the running order on the day of this observation. It's really not a set criteria, and your beauty therapist can run that in any way they want to. But I'm looking at, you know, if you've got three or more, well, if you've got 2, 3 or 4 apprentices on the day, it's good to be able to sort of have a bit of a scenario where the running order is the same for everybody for the endpoint assessor to be able to see everything. So like I said, it's not a set criteria, but if you do have 3 or more apprentices being observed, I would suggest, you know, that this order I'm going to give you now will structure that assessment, and it will also help relax the experience for the therapist and the client at the same time. So the morning session for me would probably be waxing and your hand and foot treatments, and then your makeup. And I'm going to come into this makeup later on, because when I look at makeup, I'm thinking of eye treatments. You know, the brows can be done with the makeup just by using a pencil. I'd then suggest a 30-minute break. That'll give them a turnaround time and give them some lunch. And then the afternoon, it would be massage, facial, and lash and brow treatments. What is really important is that, you know, the running order of the apprentices is uploaded to EPA Pro 2 weeks prior, and it must be available on the day of the endpoint assessment for the EPA to have a look at that information. And what we have found, and it is in a lessons learned later on, is that sometimes that schedule isn't there, that column isn't there, and it's not been passed on to that endpoint assessor, and it's pretty difficult for them to see that running order. So everything I'm saying today is just a suggestion, but just to make the, you know, the life easier for yourselves and for that, you know, apprentice on the day of their endpoint assessment. So again, I'm going to move forward on the preparation for that EPA. Just looking at this slide, personally, I would run a number of mock treatments prior to the endpoint assessment, just to fine tune the timings. Timings are massive in beauty therapy, and it will also help build the therapist's flow and confidence moving forward. And it'll give them an idea of what they're going to present on the day. And I think that's really, really important. And if they do something wrong, you know, in those mocks, it's actually then, you know, for you to be able to say, you know, well, you know, look at it this way, you know, let's build some confidence, let's build a bit of resilience here, you know, and correct what they need to do and how they need to be able to behave in on that day. Another thing for me is making sure you have backup models. I think this is really important, just in case you get let down on the day. Ideally, I think it's you know, it would be great to have that planning meeting with the EPA, and that will help you and the apprentice to, you know, sort of, well, the IEPA will then assist the apprentice and yourself with the expectations on the day. And I think that's really important for us to think about, you know, when those apprentices go in to do this endpoint assessment, how relaxed are they? How prepared are they? What is the running order? Do they know that running order? Do they have that schedule there that they can refer to, so they're not getting themselves all worked up and flustered during the endpoint assessment? Now we are going on to the hair professional standard. So this is a holding page again. Everything is on here is what you will need to be looking at from an IFATE perspective. The hair professional assessment plan is really important, knowing that we have two routes. So the assessment plan for me off this website really gives you appendix A and B, and I would suggest that your learners can get this off the IFATE website. So I would suggest that you go through the appendix A and B, depending whether your route is hairdressing or barbering. Just a quick refresher on this one for the two routes that we have. It's an overview. So we have our hairdressing route and our barbering route. And as you can see on this slide, these are the units that they will cover. Obviously, all mandatory units are barbering, but hairdressing does have optional units. And again, you know, choose your optional units to suit the strengths probably of your apprentice. So the learner is responsible for providing suitable models for this endpoint assessment. And the employer and trainer really should, where necessary, sense check they've got the right model for that type of hairstyle prior to the endpoint assessment. And again, for me, that would be, you know, a mock maybe 3 months earlier, so that, you know, you can direct them with hints and tips of how they, you know, can sort of fulfill and showcase their skills. We know this is a 6-hour endpoint assessment, and that's excluding the breaks. I would like to just remind you that the consultation and shampoo and conditioning product will also be included in this assessment, and that's really important to think about. And your apprentices will need a minimum of 2 models. So that is basically what they're going to be doing. So they will be doing a cut hair using a range of techniques, and they will start and finish using a range of techniques, using a creative variety of looks. And obviously on this standard, you know, the hair, one length of hair should be above the shoulder and the other length of hair should be below the shoulder. So try and make sure that your apprentices does have really, you know, distinctive different models for this endpoint assessment. The barbering, again, that's a 3-hour endpoint assessment excluding breaks. And we're saying again, it's a suggestion, a minimum of 2 models. Make sure though on this one that the barbers do look at the different cutting techniques that they must use. So there's 9 of those. There's 2 neckline shapes that they need to be looking at. Again, it's one finish look and one drying technique. And obviously they've got 2 facial cuts, so it's a full beard and moustache or a partial beard and moustache, and they've also got a full shave. Now I will be going through the example of an appointment schedule, which again is really only a suggestion, but it's really good practice for the apprentice to be able to have a running order of their day. It's a column. It's what they're going to do on the shop floor on any given day in a salon when they are working. So again, this is just an example. This doesn't have to be uploaded to EPA Pro, but the IEPA will need to see this on the day of the endpoint assessment. And again, it just gives you a breakdown of those 2 clients and exactly what that apprentice is going to be doing to help them, you know, give them more confidence on the day, just to refresh them when they take a little glance at their schedule of where they should be and what they are doing. Now I'm going to hand over to Diane Mitchell, the lead endpoint assessor for hairdressing and barbering. Hi Diane, how are you?
Good, thank you very much, Sarah. Just checking if we can hear me okay.
Super.
Lovely, thank you. Right, as part of our ongoing commitment to improve our endpoint assessment, City and Guilds sends out regular surveys to our customers, and the results of some recent surveys state clearly that our customers want and need more comprehensive, meaningful feedback following EPA for all apprentices, and they don't just want to know that feedback if they failed. As we know, to achieve a pass for the level 2 hair professional, an apprentice has to achieve between 500 and 633 marks. So the range is quite extensive, which is between 70 to 90% to be able to get a pass, which in itself for an apprentice to be able to pass the endpoint assessment is a great achievement. However, providers have asked that they would like to have more detail so they can better prepare future apprentices for their EPA. But also apprentices want to know if any of their technical skills were graded as a distinction, because that is really great for them to take back to their employer to say, yeah, I got a pass, which is great, but actually I got a distinction for my cutting and my styling. So it's really great for them to have that feedback as well. So Feedback Plus. So Feedback Plus now is available for the level 2 hair professional and will be available for other hair and beauty standards fairly soon. So what is Feedback Plus? Feedback Plus is a new approach to apprentice feedback following their EPA. Sarah, could you just move to the next slide for me, please? Sorry, thank you. Okay, so providers obviously will be able to access their Feedback Plus forms through EPA Pro. Now, Rebecca will demonstrate this later in this webinar where you go to access this information. So this is what we will start to be, we are starting now to produce for each apprentice. So once your apprentice has completed their EPA, you will get this Feedback Plus form, which goes through and tells you as the provider, and it depends if you want to share this with your apprentice, what areas they got passes for and what areas they got distinctions for. So you as a provider then can be saying, if all your apprentices are only getting a pass in ways of working or understanding, then maybe then you need to think about, okay, how can we better prepare them to be able to give them the opportunity to strive for a distinction? If you can just move to the next slide, please, Sarah. So this is an example of the barbering. This is an example for the hairdressing. As well as this, you will receive the overall score report for each apprentice, detailing obviously where they've got a pass or distinction, but you will also get a descriptor for each area of what grade was awarded and why. So we'll be giving you much more detail that you can share with your apprentices to see, okay, if they got a distinction in cutting, the reasons they got a distinction for cutting. If they got a pass for styling, why did they get a pass for styling? What could they have done to get to a distinction grade? Thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to hand over to Emma now. Okay, so Emma's going to go through the future landscape of the level 2 hair professional standards.
Thanks, Diane. Good morning, everyone. So my name's Emma Mackay and I'm the industry manager here at City and Guilds, looking after all that is hair, beauty and retail. So we've had quite a lot of work going on recently with the hair professional standard at level 2. Currently, there has been a review of this standard underway. A consultation was sent out mid-October with the proposed changes to the standard and the assessment plan detailed. Both Diane and I did host a webinar at the beginning of October, just outlining some of the changes that we were seeing coming through and encouraging you to participate in that consultation. We really, really do hope that you did have your say, as the hairdressing standard consultation did close a couple of weeks ago and the barbering one was extended until Monday, the 1st of November. So what's going to happen next? The reviewed hair professional standard will be submitted to the Institute via the Hairdressing Steering Group in January 2022. So once the consultation results have been taken in, they will be gathered, they will be assessed, taken back to the steering group, and then finalised paperwork and the actual standard itself will be published and put together. What we understand so far is that there will be 2 separate standards submitted. There's going to be one for hairdressing and there's going to be one for barbering, rather than having one standard with 2 pathways at level 2. These new standards will be classed as new submissions. Therefore, the steering group have a large piece of work on their hands to include a new proposal paper, and there will be some new costings that will need to be taken into consideration. So in light of this, current funding bands will be reviewed. What we also understand at this early point is that the practical observation elements of the endpoint assessment will not change. The main differences that we can see so far is that the knowledge test will be included for both the hairdressing at level 2 and the barbering at level 2 new standards, as all sort of knowledge, skills and behaviour must be assessed as part of the new endpoint assessments. And also there's going to be an introduction of professional discussion for both the hairdressing and the barbering at level 2 standards. Great news for the industry is that mandatory qualifications will remain in place for the on-programme elements for both the new level 2 and the new level 3 barbering standards. So us here at City and Guilds, we are continuing to work incredibly closely with the steering group and with the other sort of regulators, employers and industry bodies across the industry to help to support the review of this professional standard. We're very much hoping that if this is submitted January 2022, we should hear around the March, early springtime, whether these have been approved by the Institute, so that endpoint assessment organisations such as ourselves and awarding organisations, we can then start to make the accurate and necessary tweaks and changes to the mandatory qualifications and any updates necessary to the endpoint assessments as well. We will keep in touch, so do keep your eyes peeled for any more webinars, news alerts that you might have signed up to via our website pages or newsletters towards the beginning of 2022. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Emma. That's really great. That's a really great update. I did try to unmute myself to come in just at the end of Diane when she was talking about Feedback Plus. We will be rolling out Feedback Plus for beauty. I would like to say December. I would honestly say it would be January 2022 when we start that rollout for the Feedback Plus, Pass Plus for the beauty therapy standard. And now I'll be moving on to our flexibilities and dispensations. Oh, no, I won't. Sorry. I think it's back to Diane now. It's a creative hair professional. So it's back to Diane to go through the creative hair professional. And here's the overview. This is a holding slide. Again, I will say that the Advanced Creative Hair Professional Assessment Plan is really important for you to look at. We do have a non-mandatory qualification that we have developed for this standard. Over to you, Diane.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm only going to go through a really quick brief overview on this. We did carry out 2 webinars on this, which went into an awful lot more detail. So if anybody wants any more detail, which we within the other 2 webinars, we drilled down into a lot more information. If you just let Sarah know, and she can send you on those slides and the recording. So just as a refresher, the assessment plan for the creative hair professional, we have 3 assessment methods. We have the knowledge test, observation and questioning, and professional discussion. So we move on to the knowledge test. The knowledge test is a multiple choice online. The pass mark is 28 marks, which is 70%. You have to get so many of the health and safety areas right to be able to pass. So although you may get 28 marks, you've got to get 7 out of the 8 questions around health and safety correct. So you must make sure that you are preparing your apprentices for these. If you go onto EPA Pro, we've got an awful lot of support resources there to help you support your apprentices to get ready for the knowledge test. We've also got a practice test on EPA Pro, which you can obviously make sure that before they go in for the final test, they've experienced that multiple choice knowledge test, which covers all area areas of that endpoint assessment. So this will be graded as pass or fail, all right? So then we're going to move on to the observation. The observation and questioning, so we have a combined observation and questioning, which is slightly different to what we do for the hair professional. This is going to be around about 5 hours, but obviously at the IEPA's discretion, they can increase this for up to 10% if needed. Now, the reasons we would allow 10% extra time is that, especially around COVID, if there's extra cleaning in between and things like that, but also if a client had really thick, abundant head of hair, or maybe they were doing that creative colour and actually the colour started to take longer to develop than anticipated, the IEPAs do have that discretion to be able to award an additional 10% of time. Obviously, the assessment conditions exactly the same as level 2 hair professional. It can be done in the employer salon or it can be done in the training provider salon, as long as it meets the realistic working environment. The practical observation and questioning is graded at distinction, pass or fail. The steering group have made a decision that only 2 apprentices can be assessed at one time to allow for quality and rigour. And the typically working day, including professional discussion, will be around about 7.5 hours. So for the observation and questioning, the apprentices have to work on a minimum of 1 client, which undertakes 2 services. On the day, they will have to come with their collection of hair looks, which shows the precision cut and finish. And the precision cut and finish that they have to recreate has to be part of the personal hair collection looks. They also have to complete 1 advanced creative colour conversion, which obviously is on previously coloured hair, because that will allow for a slight bit of element of colour correction as well. The questioning element is going to be done as the apprentices finish each client. So as soon as they finish that precision cut and finish, the IEPA will ask a maximum of 2 questions, which they will just decide on those questions depending on the techniques and the client that they've chosen. So the questions will be detailed around that client they did as part of that precision cut and finish. And exactly the same for the creative colour conversion. As soon as they finish that, there will be 2 questions asked, possibly around the products, things that they've done and mixing ratios, why they chose those colours, to be able to give that apprentice the opportunity to strive for a distinction in the observation and question aspect. The professional discussion is something that's going to be very new for everybody. And as I say, we have done some really good support resources on EPA Pro. For the professional discussion, they have to cover all the key skills and behaviours that are dictated and detailed within the endpoint assessment manual that you will have. It goes into all the areas that they need to cover as part of that professional discussion. The assessment conditions is that the professional discussion will be assessed to draw out the best of the apprentice's competence and excellence to cover the key skills and behaviours. And this element, again, will be graded at distinction, pass or fail. The collection of hair looks, which is the portfolio of looks, is not assessed or graded by EPA, but it will then lead into informing and for the apprentice to be able to conduct that professional discussion. One thing that is slightly different that you need to be aware of for this professional discussion is that it will be led by the apprentice, and it will last for around about 45 minutes. And it's really important that it does last for around 45 minutes, because that is the required time. So again, this is something you're going to have to really to prepare the apprentice for, maybe doing some mock assessments around it, running through what they need to cover and making sure that they're covering all the evidence. So let's have a little look at the collection of hairstyle looks, which is a portfolio of evidence that you have to submit, and this has to be submitted at Gateway. All right. So for the professional discussion, the apprentice is required as part of the gateway process to submit a portfolio which covers the collection of looks as well as all of the other knowledge, skills and behaviours. We've done a bit of a mapping document for you, and as part of the standards it states it's typically 17 pieces of evidence. It doesn't have to be 17 pieces of evidence, but when you are completing your overview sheet, you have to state exactly where each of these pieces of evidence are covered. So one piece of evidence can be mapped against more than one knowledge, skill or behaviour. The collection of looks can be in any format as long as it's legible and can be uploaded electronically onto EPA Pro. The collection of looks should contain written accounts of activities that are completed and mapped against the knowledge, skills and behaviours. Progress review documents, witness testimonies and feedback from colleagues and other clients should also be included. Reflective accounts or self-evaluation by the apprentice themselves cannot be included as evidence. So just as a reminder, this evidence has to be, as well as the declaration of authenticity, must be signed by the apprentice, and this has to be submitted at gateway. So just in case you haven't been able to find these documents, this is the document that you have to complete as part of your gateway evidence. Now this can be found on the City and Guilds website under 9014, and then if you use the drop down box and look at EPA, you can be found on that on the website, but please look under 9014. So this is the document that has to be uploaded as part of the gateway evidence. So you've got the declaration the declaration that has to be signed by the apprentice, the line manager and the training provider. And then I've just done a quick screenshot of all of the knowledge, skills and behaviours that you have to make sure is covered as part of the professional discussion. So you can see it's quite extensive, all right? But as I say, it doesn't, one piece or two pieces or three pieces of evidence could cover the whole professional discussion, but you have to show us that that has been covered, so that what the IEPAs will do, because we don't want to set any apprentices up to fail, once that evidence has been uploaded onto the gateway and a date has been confirmed and an IEPA has been allocated, we ask our IEPAs at the earliest opportunity to review the evidence. So they will go through this mapping document, they will go through the evidence that has been uploaded to ensure that the full requirements of the professional discussion has been met prior to the IEPA going into conducting that professional discussion with that apprentice. So it's really important, if there are any gaps, then the IEPA will then go back to the EPA team to say that actually on this occasion the apprentice or the provider hasn't submitted evidence around all the colour correction techniques or around smoothing and strengthening systems. All right, so it's really important that you make sure you do complete this as part of your gateway evidence. Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, thank you so much, Diane. I might have slipped a slide a bit quick there. I apologise for that. Before we go on any further, I'd like to just check, do we have any questions in our chat box from the attendees?
Yes, you do, Sarah. Yeah. Do you want me to go through them and I can ask them to you live?
That would be great.
So let's have a little look. Beauty, Sarah. Somebody said that they would really struggle themselves to complete a full manicure with French and pedicure, including exfoliator, only allowing 30 minutes. I don't know if you want to respond to that, Sarah.
Yeah, I do actually, and I get where you're coming from. Whoever's asked this question, for myself, I would really prep. I'd make sure the nails that I was working on, whether the hands or feet, were prepped really, really well. So I would probably do a lot of my cuticle and prep work prior to that endpoint assessment. I would obviously leave a certain amount that I would then be able to showcase to that endpoint assessor on the day. So again, it's finding the right set of nails. You know, it's like an artist, you know, you need a blank canvas. So if you've got somebody that's got a really good nail bed, they've got really good cuticles, you've pushed them back, you've nipped as much as you possibly can nip, but you've left a little bit on the cuticles prior to that endpoint assessment. I think that would be my my personal hot tip whilst they prepare for the endpoint assessment.
Thank you. The next question, are the level 2 apprentices allowed to leave the building for their break?
Is that hair or beauty?
It doesn't say. So do you want to answer that both?
To be quite honest, I would suggest they don't. For myself, I think if they can remove themselves once they're sort of they're having their break, they've tidied up, they've set up ready for the next client. If they remove themselves from the salon to give themselves some fresh air, yes, but I wouldn't say go out shopping to Tesco's or anything like that. You know, I would say stay within the vicinity of your endpoint assessment venue.
And Janice has just confirmed that yes, that was for hairdressing.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody's asked if they could please have information or an update on level 3 hair. I'm guessing they may have written that before. We've just done that update just there. So if there's anything else, Tracy, that you need, obviously please do reach out to Sarah and she'll be able to get you in contact or send you what you might need.
Can I just say to Tracy, if you want to contact me on my email, which you'll see at a slide at the end of this presentation, I can send you Diane's. She's done 2 webinars this year. I can send you those and I can go through them with you.
Thanks, Sarah. Phil's asked, the recent consultation suggested a change to the hair endpoint assessment practical. Is this not going to change now with the new standards?
I think that's over to you, Diane, Emma.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, for us really, we won't know until the consultation results have been fully collated and we've received that feedback at the next steering group meeting. We're not really sure until we see that draft sort of, I guess, next standard document. As soon as we do hear any more though, and things start to take a bit more shape, we will do another webinar and we'll share with you any more intel that we have as soon as possible. There's another question here to Diane, I think might be able to answer this one. Are we linking the collection of looks with the unit in the diploma? Is this a good idea?
Yes, obviously we have a non-mandatory qualification as part of the level 3 creative hair professional, but obviously if you have picked up the qualification, then the assignments that have been written for the collection of looks for fashion forward trends can literally be used for the endpoint assessment, and the same with the smoothing and strengthening system assignment. So yes, it can be used, that's not a problem. That's the way we've written it to be able to support you with that journey to get them ready for the discussion.
Brilliant, thanks Diane. And then there's a question at the end about, is there any news for the apprentice level 3 beauty? I don't know if that's referring to the apprenticeship standard being reviewed. It only went live May 2020, so I'm presuming it's not that question. Potentially it could be a question around City and Guilds looking to offer the endpoint assessment or an on-programme offer for that advanced beauty therapist standard. It is something that we're considering. We have been working incredibly hard, I think, as in every business, around COVID recovery and really focusing on the standards that we do have an offer for. So once we do have further news, we will let you know. Danielle has asked another question here. If a learner wishes to appeal the endpoint assessment results, what are the initial steps, please, to take, and how long roughly may that take?
Emma, shall I help with that answer? No problem. So hello everybody, I'm Rebecca Hollenby. With regards to appeals and results, you will have to put in an appeal form no later than 20 days after the result has been published to you via either EPA Pro or War Garden. It is an EA1 form, so I can make sure that as we send out this presentation, we can attach all the documentation around appeals and queries on grades. And then we have 32 days to look at your appeal and feedback and either agree to the initial grade or change the grade following the appeal. And we will work you through with our feedback and complaints team as we work through your appeal.
Thanks,
Hopefully
Rebecca.
But any questions on that, I can take at the end, and I will make sure that we've got the appeals policy sent out to you.
Is there any more, Emma?
There is another one that's just popped through. Sarah, I was just going to message you might want to just mute whilst I'm going through these. There's just a little bit of feedback still coming through. Thank you. Okay, so when you have completed the on programme and you complete the recording form, sorry, it's quite hard to read in that small box. With the learner and employer and submit on EPA Pro, there's a declaration form for the learner to sign. Is this needed? Beck, I'm not sure if you can see the question in the question box there. I think it's because it's in that small box, it's quite difficult to understand what the question actually is. Carol, is the question, is the learner needing to sign this as well? Just going to see if Carol pops back in another message. Bex, I don't know if you can see that question. I'm not sure if you...
I can. I've just opened it up. So with regards, the only declaration that we need on Pro is the signed one from the apprentice as they go through Gateway. So they'll need to have, I think Carol's just confirmed.
Oh, she's just clarified it, yes.
If they sign the recording form, yes, they do. So there is a declaration for them to go through Gateway, and that is just a one signatory document that can be found on the Gateway materials on the EPA Pro platform, and that is just a learner signatory. And the signatory from the recording forms is an authenticity document alongside that of their recording form. So we'll need the Gateway form at Gateway, and then the recording form as it's uploaded alongside their portfolio.
That's wonderful, Bex. Thanks ever so much. And Sarah, that's all the questions for now.
Super, thank you, Emma. I really appreciate you handling those questions and direct them to the right people. We're now going to come on to the dispensations, flexibilities and discretion. So you have me again for this slide. So we all know the COVID-19 pandemic, it does continue. We all watch the news and we see that continuing. So we understand at City and Girls the challenges you and your apprentices are facing due to, it could be social distancing, local restrictions, and containment measures within your area. And we are committed to supporting you throughout these challenges, as they are exceptional circumstances that we're going through. And we have created an updated guidance to help you to understand the range of dispensation, flexibilities and discretions for all our hair and beauty apprenticeship standards and their assessments. So we will continually to update and inform you of the guidance that we're getting relating to dispensations and flexibilities for the assessments that are due to take place throughout the remainder of 2021 to 2022. It is stated that obviously the dispensations are only available up to the 31st of December 2021, but please check our website under COVID for endpoint assessment, because that is where we do upload all the information. If we have any more information, we will send this out in alert. So please make sure you have registered for alerts with us, and you can find that registration form at the bottom of your screen on the City and Girls website, at the bottom of the screen where it says updates. And I would suggest strongly that everybody, signs up for any updates they need to be able to know that you've got the information fresh. On the website here, when you go onto the endpoint assessment website, you will see the document, which is, I've just put a snippet on this screen for you. So it's in purple, it's 2021 to 2022, and that does give you all the information about the dispensations for hair and beauty. And if you go further down on that screen, it does give you our 7002 professional EPA guidance and eligibility form, and the customer recording forms on there for hairdressing and barbering. And it also gives you the 9129 level 2 beauty therapy guidance with their eligibility form and your centre or customer recording forms. It's really important to go onto that little widget on the website to really have a good navigate round, so you do have the most up-to-date information. Moving over now to Rebecca, but before I introduce Rebecca, I would like to say, you know, EPA Pro is absolutely bob on for our hairdressing. Now, we will be adding resources to EPA Pro for level 2 beauty therapy. They are being added on the platform as we get them. Please bear with us. We do know that, you know, hairdressing, which is a massive standard with lots of apprentices on there, we are working through with our lead endpoint assessors for beauty therapy to get as much information onto the EPA Pro for you to be able to support your apprentice on their journey throughout their time with you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Hollenby. She's one of our endpoint assessment apprenticeship managers, and Rebecca will be taking you through the apprenticeship journey, which is supported by our own EPA Pro. Hi, Rebecca.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. So there's just a very few slides. Most of you now will probably will hopefully feel comfortable and confident working through EPA Pro and the platform as a whole. It is such an improvement to where we were 12, 18 months ago. What I will say is, if you have any questions, if you are now making those initial registrations or new approvals are coming in and it looks slightly different as you're working on endpoint assessment on EPA Pro, do email me at any time. My contact details will come up at the end, and we can do some one-on-one sessions to make sure everything is captured and everything is complete. This is a very quick screenshot here of what it looks like the first time you log in. So if you haven't worked with the endpoint assessment EPA Pro before, it is individualized to you. We are constantly making improvements and amendments to it, so it's giving you more detail and information about your learners and how they progress through. In our upcoming update, which will go live towards the end of November, we're also going to offer you a read-only access. So if you've got wider tutors that you just want to come on and access the resources, that will be a new functionality as we approach the end of November. But we'll keep you informed on how developments progress. And as Sarah said, if you can sign up to updates, and as you do that, you click on EPA Pro and digital resources, we'll make sure that you get those updates coming out to you as well. Next slide, please, Sarah. So this is very much a brief overview of how you're working endpoint assessment through EPA Pro. One key thing to say here is, as you want to progress new approvals onto EPA Pro, that process is still managed via Wargarden. So into Wargarden, into the quality portal, into online forms, and then EPA approvals. There is no cost for endpoint assessment approvals, and we will manage that and put that through into EPA Pro within 48 hours. A key thing here to say on Pro, if you're working with it already, in the top left-hand side, there's a little box that will say your, right-hand side, there's a little box that will say your name. If you can click into that and click into communication settings, what we really want to do here is making sure you're making the most out of EPA Pro. If you've got learners that are being booked now and having dates in, particularly as you're working with creative hair professional and they have a remote PD, time and date booked in, which is delivered via our GoToMeeting platform, you want to be able to make sure that you're receiving all of those links. Although they will go direct to the learner as well, what we want to make sure is that you've got that link. Should on that morning or on that day, the learner can't get into the emails, can't access the links, the more we can make sure that you've got all of that detail, hopefully the seamless that journey for EPA will be for that particular learner. To enable you to do this, you can go into communication settings, go into the assessment booking tab, and just drop down where it will say in-app to make sure it says email and in-app for both the assessment booking confirmations. That will ensure you get all the confirmation and booking confirmations for all your learners as they progress through EPA. Thank you very much, Sarah. Next slide, please. As you will be aware now, with all our standards, not just hair and beauty, you have the ability to book your dates and times that you want those individual component access to take place. Once your learners have progressed through Gateway, You will click into planning, go into assessment booking and select the learners you want to book. You can do this for each individual component. With regards advanced hair or beauty where there is a knowledge test, you will continue to book that knowledge test through Wargarden, and we will capture and update the results and feed that result into EPA Pro on your behalf. There is nothing differently you need to do with regards that is still managed via Wargarden. If you wish to still have the planning meeting, these are not mandated within these standards. Should you wish to have the planning meeting with an EPA prior to assessment, as you pass through Gateway, one of the questions is question 4 and it asks you to confirm who and when you were at that planning meeting to take place. So the options for how you work Pro, how you work your endpoint assessment with City and Guilds is solely down to you as a provider. If you want to book with us directly, you'll use the assessment booking tab as shown on the screen there. But please do, if you want to have that planning meeting, if you find it beneficial for your learners, yourselves, or those learners' employees, do make sure that you book that as you're progressing through Gateway. Thank you very much, Sarah. This actually covers what I've just said with regard to advanced hair. When you're making those initial bookings for cohorts on this new standard, obviously which has a knowledge test, please make sure that you don't book that. That is still continuing to be delivered and booked on Wargarden, and we will do the work of feeding the results through. Thank you. Diane very clearly and outlined the process that we're going to be launching actually a couple of weeks ago now for Feedback Pass Plus, which is quite the tongue twister as we're going forward. So Feedback Pass Plus is all about us providing you the detail of how your learners performed on that day. There was a pilot going off very recently with a certain cohort of centres, making sure that it was fit for purpose and the information we was providing you was enabled you to improve the service and the success of learners working through EPA. Going forward, to access this information and the feedback form, you will need to go in through your assessment tab in EPA Pro. If you go into the assessment tab, click on your individual learner, you will see 3 tabs, depending on the various different standards that you're working with, that will say result and manage. Where we have given you a fail result or where we have given you a pass result, if you can click on the manage tab, the next tab that will come up will say result, and if you click into result and then file uploads, there will be a PDF document that you can download there, and that will be your full grade feedback, pass, merit, distinction or fail. It will all sit in there. We've done it as an additional document rather than typing in the boxes so that you can download it and distribute it easier. So please make sure that you'll download it. Any questions on that, or if you're unable to see it, please do reach out to me and we can make sure that we can mend it in the system for you. Thank you very much, Sarah. So I'm Rebecca Hollandby. There is 3 of me that do my role within City and Guilds. We are solely focused on apprenticeships, solely focused on EPA, making it as easy as a journey as can possibly be, from working the platform, accessing the resources, getting all the information and detail out of the platform to enable you to manage those learners better. At any point of any time, do feel free to reach out to any one of us and we can put in some one-to-one support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that. Really great information. I'm sure our attendees have got lots of questions as well. So I'd like to just, before we move on to our EPA update for beauty therapy and hairdressing and barbering, I would like to just see if there are any questions in the chat box, Emma.
Yeah, there's just one for yourself, Sarah, around dispensations and adaptations. Trina has sort of stated and asked, are there any dispensations or adaptations in place for the on-programme qualifications? These stopped this academic year, but will they be extended?
That is something that, as I said, we will be feeding back to centres when we know more. We do know it's the 31st of December 2021 at this moment in time. But Trina, we will feed that back. So please sign up for our alerts and make sure that you get that information.
Sorry, Sarah, she's referring to the on-programme qualifications rather than endpoint assessment.
Oh yes, we have got on program what is on our website in the document that I've just showed you, the front cover. If you go and have a look in there, it does state what is available. Again, we also have our adaptations. So if you go onto the adaptations on the COVID, it will state on 7003 what can be used.
That's all the questions for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. So if we move on to our LEPA update for beauty therapy lessons learned, I think we've done an awful lot of lessons learned for hairdressing and barbering. So we are going to just look at the good areas, the areas of good performance for hairdressing and barbering. But for beauty therapy, I'd just like to, sort of go on about that preparation again, making sure that, your learners have enough mock EPAs to fine tune their treatments, the timing, the flow of the treatments, and to help build their confidence. Also that they do have extra clients as backup just in case anybody's poorly on the day or can't make it. They actually do know what a column is, a running schedule, because they will be working on the shop floor with a schedule. So it's making sure that they do understand keeping to the times again for that. The schedule should be uploaded or sent to the EPA team for the EPA to know that running order on the day. And it is 5 hours, making sure that they do have their break in between. Not lots of different breaks, but a 30-minute break, it would be sufficient for the apprentice before they move into that second session. And I think what's really important as well to state is that it's ideal that we do offer this, that you can have that planning meeting with the EPA prior to the day, and that'll help with any expectations and planning of the day. And I think that's a really important thing to take up on. So on the day, the EPA will arrive about 30 minutes before her booking time or his booking time to the centre, and that will help them to get themselves organised. There will be a third-party consent form, and that will be given to the centre contact for all clients to sign. And this is really consent for any photographs that will be taken by the EPA on the day, and it's purely training purposes. If client cards are not available in the room, the EPA may wish to view these to ensure that the patch test, the patch test has been completed. So that's made available to them, and they may ask for evidence of that test. The EPA will do a short introduction and welcome the apprentices prior to them starting their clients. And once the endpoint assessment starts, the apprentices are free to complete their treatments as planned. The EPA will take before and after images of their hands, feet, eyes, and makeup. And sometimes a lead EPA may join an EPA on that observation, and that isn't looking at the apprentice as per se, is purely for quality assurance purposes for the lead EPA to make sure that the EPA is going through all the processes for the endpoint assessment. Again, client consultation and treatment planning. This can be quite hefty and lengthy. So the client consultation forms can be completed by the client prior to entering the room. It's expected for the therapist to run over and confirm the treatment plan with the client prior to starting the observation. And it's really important that the EPA hears, that overview of the treatment plan's already been done, the consultation's already been done, but it's important that the EPA does hear the information there. So a big tip is do not have the apprentice complete this lengthy form on day, because that does impact on their timing. Treatment plans and consultation cards, we'd like them to be left so that the EPA can review them as the endpoint assessment is taking place. If they're not there, the EPA may ask the centre if they can see this evidence of obviously tests as the EPA starts. The main thing for me is that the EPA hears the consultation and treatment planning, that it has taken place. They're just running through that overview, and I think that is really, really important. Another thing that I think is really important is that the EPA would expect to hear the home care and aftercare advice, and treatment recommendations verbally. They can write those down, they can have that written down on that consultation sheet because they've already gone through that in their own head. But for me, the best advice is for you to be able to, you know, sort of work with your apprentices on the, you know, to make sure on the day that they give the best advice and explain to the clients why they're you know, they're giving this advice for future home care and aftercare treatment recommendations, and making sure that the EPA does hear that, if you like, advice and guidance. And as I said, don't have lengthy evaluation forms and aftercare forms to complete. Make it a little simple tick box, and otherwise it's just going to burn into the time of that endpoint assessment. So moving forward to our level 2 beauty therapy, let's have a look at some good practice here. We can see we have expectations. So the big expectation is that, you know, we appreciate, you know, you're busy. There are busy organisations out there with different policies on dress code and appearance of their therapists. But during the endpoint assessment, we do expect the therapist to adhere to a high industry standard, especially if they wanted to work towards that distinctional level. And what will that include? Well, it'll be, you know, short nails, nicely manicured, unvarnished or gelled, with polished, a clean and ironed uniform. Their hair, you know, neatly tied up and away from the face, not hanging into the client. A professional day maker is really, really important because they are showcasing themselves. They are the clients buying into how do they look. You know, so what do you look? What makeup do you use? What skincare products do you use? So it's all about that professional look. Again, it will be enclosed shoes to make sure that the shoes are enclosed so that it's following the health and safety. And again, maintaining effective health and safety practice during, prior and during to the endpoint assessment. And it's really important to include this cleaning away the morning session treatment, or being able to close a curtain around so it's not visible, it's not messy looking. So we're keeping the neatness around the room and that professionalism to hygiene throughout. Another one is behaviour, the conduct and the conversation with the client. Really important to make sure that, you know, your apprentice is conversing with the client on the day and not doing conversations or discussions with other therapists. So it's about the most important person in that therapist's world at that moment in time is their client. And I think we all have to remain positive on that, because when I go for any treatment, you know, I want to be the most important person in that therapist, on that therapist's bed, to make sure that I get the most of their attention and that they're doing a really good job on me. So I think that's really important. And, you know, follow all the criteria set out in the EPA assessment documentation. That's really, really important to look at. If we look at our models and clients for endpoint assessment, it is the responsibility, centre's responsibility, you know, supply models clients for the endpoint assessment and ensure, you know, they've done that patch test, that sensitivity test has all been completed. And it's really just sense checking, you know, they've got a great face to work on, they've got great nails to work on, you know, they're not too hairy, they've got enough hair. So it's just making sure that you're sense checking those models on the day to be able to give that therapist the full opportunity to showcase. It is recommended that the therapist doesn't know their client, and we all know that they can get too familiar. We need to make sure if they do know the client that it's very professional and they do not become too familiar with the client. Again, I'm looking at, you know, clients that are suitable for treatments, not too hairy, great nails, good nail bed, that's important. And, you know, also have that backup of clients just in case, you know, somebody is a no-show or there is any illness within, you know, that's going to happen. Again, run through mock, because I can't say that enough. Mock assessments is really, really important. It doesn't have to be on the same client, but it's just the order of the day and what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they present themselves on that day. So if we remember professional conversations, you know, professionalism in general within our industry. And the thing for me is treating the endpoint assessment as an official exam and not talking to other therapists or being too familiar with models. I think we all understand that one. Making sure that health and safety is tip top, and discussing treatment planning and next steps. Because for myself, you know, a therapist to me, when the receptionist is taking payment, or the therapist is taking payment, are they booking them back in? What's the next step? We don't want that client just walking out the door. And some of these smaller things can impact on the apprentices being a fail, or not even achieving a distinction when they could have. So it's fine tuning and looking at that, you know, the cherry on the cake, if you like, for them to be able to move forward into distinctions. So if we move forward here, let's have a look at some lessons learned with waxing. So we're saying watch the techniques, making sure that they're stretching the skin during application and removal, ensuring that, you know, there's no wax residue left on the skin. Double dipping, there is no double dipping. We have to remember that, you know, general health and safety, cleaning any wax that may be spilled, or covering it and addressing it when it is appropriate to do. Making sure they're throwing the spatulas away in a pedal bin and not leaving them on the surface or using a hand bin. So pedal bins are really important there. Having clients that are not too hairy but have enough hair. So it's judging that hair cycle growth. Don't overcomplicate things, you know. If it's easy to do hot wax, do it. If it's not, then don't do it. You know, what is easy? Get the running order in there. What is easy? Look at the sensitivity testing and testing of wax temperatures on the cells before the client. You know, you can see that client scream sometimes when the wax is too hot. And actually, for the apprentice, not to forget the basics when they're doing that. And timings are really, really important. You know, most of the timings, you know, fail due to waxing. They spend too long on waxing. So it's about having the right client, and it's practice, 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 and make sure that they, you know, they're not failing the waxing because they're spending too much time on there. If we look at the hand and nail and foot treatments, again, using the correct filing techniques for the nails, not that seesaw. We're seeing an awful lot of seesaw going in there. So we need to see the correct filing techniques, health and safety guidelines, placing the implements back into the Barmecide after use. Really important, not just leaving them down on their trolley. Disposing of any waste products correctly. You know, where's that pedal bin? Have a pedal bin next to them so they can put everything into that little bin. Not placing tools and products on the bed. That's been seen, you know, or elsewhere. You know, if it's not lined, just make sure that wherever they're leaving them, it's the best health and safety practice, best practice that they can do. Another thing came up again with the posture of the client and therapist when performing the foot treatments. It seems that a few therapists are sitting a bit too far away from the client. Now, this can really, you know, be a risk in injury to themselves, and it looks quite uncomfortable for the client who's stretching out. So it's about making sure that they're sitting the correct distance between the client and themselves. And the polishing techniques is really, really important. You know, suitable clients for the feet and the French polish. And what I would say is get them to really practice smile lines. And you know, if they haven't got a client to practice smile lines on, then get a nail tip for artificial nails, and just practice those smile lines as much as you can, because we are seeing some rocky smile lines that would not be accepted in industry. If we look at the lash and brow treatments, again, check these. Oh no, I've missed one. Sorry, let me go back. I have missed the facial. Gosh, I missed the facial. So again, facial, the massage on facial is really, really important. You know, they have to use all the ranges, and especially Tapotement. And we're seeing that Tapotement isn't big on the list of massage movements used. Again, make sure that they're meeting all the ranges, so the heated towels and steamers. And a big suggestion on timing is for the lash and brow treatments is, whilst they've got a mask on, why not tint their lashes? I do that in industry. It cuts down time for me. It's absolutely very easy, but really make sure that, you know, they are sticking to that 1 hour for that facial. So that's just a few tips there. Move on to the lash and brow treatments here. check the techniques. They've got the techniques for the lash and brow treatment, and they are using all their ranges. Now, the brow treatments, they can be using, be seen to use brow treatments within makeup, as I said earlier, by, penciling the brows in. So, again, it's about that order of service and how they're going to do that. If you look at the body massage, cover a range of massage techniques. Again, we're going into deportment, remembering that, to check the client's well-being. How are you? How's this pressure throughout the treatment? And again, checking that prior to the massage, what depth of pressure would you like? Have you had a massage before? What type of pressure do you like or would normally like? What areas concern do you have? Really important questions to ask that client. And the thing is as well, take your time, don't rush it, and get them to breathe while they're massaging. You find a lot of these little apprentices, they sort of stop breathing when they go into massage, and get them to breathe with the treatments when they're moving around. And what we have noticed, this is from the lead EPA, has said, some of the massages are only lasting 15 minutes. Well, what is a suitable massage? Timing would be 20-25 minutes, not 15 minutes. So really do think of that. Again, makeup, make sure that they are maintaining that health and safety, and they are dispensing the products as they should be, adhering to health and safety requirements, or they are using some form of sanitizing spray prior to while they're in that working mode. Again, Diane touched on the professional discussion. It's really important for our assessors to sort of practice with the apprentice on this professional discussion, because this really will support them on the day, and it will help them to, that day to run smoothly. They'll feel confident. It's in good timing. They're not waffling about things. It's being precise. And I would suggest anybody who's going to aim for a distinction would leave that professional discussion with the EPA. If we look at hairdressing now, we have our areas of good performance. So it has been agreed, COVID-19 dispensations and flexibilities have been received positively, giving the apprentice the opportunity to fulfill their EPA requirements. And we've been really, really happy at City & Guilds about this, these dispensations and flexibilities. Apprentices have been great. They've been able to complete the hair up style on a block, also a curly blow, and any setting techniques on these blocks, which has just shown their sort of skill with hair, because as we know, a block is much harder to work on than an actual client and a head of hair. So they've excelled in achieving distinctions for styling, and I think that's a brilliant, I would carry that forward. You're not going to use that in the dispensations, but I would be saying practice on a block. Just practice on a block, because once you've perfected what you need to perfect on a block, the client's hair is it's not a walk in the park, but it's a lot easier. We've also seen a few apprentices take advantage of completing the whole EPA on one client, which has worked really, really well for them, and it's really eased, as Diane stated, the situation in the salon with social distancing. So that has been a real big tick box for ourselves at City & Guilds, and for the apprentice, and for the provider, and for the training establishment. The extra time, as Diane has spoken, allows the apprentice to carry out necessary cleaning duties that may be there due to the COVID pandemic. And apprentices that created a detailed appointment schedule and service plan that covers all the services, products and techniques. It just shows that they are really, really prepared for that endpoint assessment. So you have got an example of a schedule here, and they can write down everything they're going to do, what brushes they're going to use, what size of brush, what techniques, what percentage of peroxide they're going to use, how they're going to mix it. It doesn't matter, it can be War and Peace, as long as they've memorized that and they know exactly what they're doing on the day. So the assessment schedule for me, or the appointment schedule for me, is really, really important, because again, they are going out there to run a column, and it's really important that they run that column to time.
Sarah, shall I come in with some questions now?
Yeah, that'd be super. I was just going to ask you then before I moved on to our wonderful competition.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm not sure if Yvonne's asking as an EPA or as a customer. Yvonne, I'm not sure if you could add that comment in, but she said she's finding that she's having to chase up running orders through the EPA team. She has an EPA tomorrow and no running order to date. This is for beauty.
Right, yeah. Yvonne, again, this is something that, you know, I am saying to everybody, that schedule needs to be uploaded. You need to be able to see that schedule. If it's not, if you've got your endpoint assessment tomorrow, there should be a running order there for you, but this should be uploaded and easy for you to see prior to going into the establishment where you're going to be doing that endpoint assessment. Again, Rebecca, maybe we can pick that up in our feedback, you know, that we put out, maybe a bit of an alert there to remind centres to upload the schedule. And again, it's good practice for that apprentice to have that schedule, to know in their mind what they are actually doing and when they're doing it and how they're doing it. So I do feel your pain a little bit there, Yvonne.
Okay, the next question. When you state gel, do you mean that they can have a colour or clear gel only? Thank you.
Basically, we're saying that there is no varnish or gel on the nails prior during that endpoint assessment. Just they want neat, clean nails. That's what I picked up from the endpoint assessment.
In some salons, the therapists wear flip-flops or open-toe sandals. If this is the salon uniform, what would you advise?
I would say they need closed shoes. So, as I stated earlier, you know, flip-flops are not what we deem as being health and safety. Open-toe sandals are not deemed as being health and safety. We know that salons wear it, but it is something that the salons need to look at the assessment plan, and it does state that for the health and safety. So it's not down to the IEPA, it's down to, you know, that apprentice being prepped correctly for what they should be wearing on the day.
Okay, is it a requirement for learners to charge their models or clients for an EPA?
To my knowledge, Emma, you know, there is no requirement. I literally have got no idea on that one, because there is no requirement to myself that I know of. I would certainly try to get something when we have sort of juniors in the spa, you know, young level 2s in the spa. We do charge a minimum, and it's just for the use of product. So I think that again is down to the provider, the salon owner, and the apprentice.
Okay, and just to ask from Lisa, does the manicure and pedicure treatments also include massage within their 30-minute allocation?
Yeah, you would do a hand and foot massage. I mean, it wouldn't be what you would normally do, but I would definitely still do that hand and foot massage just to show those techniques, just to showcase. And if you have prepped the nails well, and you have a little, you know, you're not going to take 30 minutes to paint nails, because if you do, that wouldn't be right. So as long as you're prepped as much as you possibly can do, I think to show that effleurage, you know, that you can actually open the palm up, stretch the hand out, massage into the palm. I think it's just, again, if we're going for a distinction, you know, if these are the type of things you want to see.
Lovely, that's all the questions for now.
Oh, thank you so much, Emma. Now we are going to move on to some absolutely fantastic news. It's here again, and we are so excited at City and Guilds to launch, in association with MHFEDS, the digital barbering competition. Again, we have a star-studded lineup of industry judges waiting for the entries to come through. I think I've splashed it all over social media. Probably we got a bit fed up of me the other day putting this out. But you know what? We love these competitions, and so do the learners who enter. You know, it's absolutely amazing, and Adam and his team are really committed with Des Murray and everybody to make sure that, you know, they have an absolutely super day. So I say the winners are invited to a photographic studio, and they're going to create an editorial look with Des Murray. He's a multi-award winning hairdresser, photographer. We will provide, or the MHFEDS will provide, a makeup artist, clothes stylist, and lunch on the day. Such a great experience, you know, for these young, talented people coming through into our industry. The editorial look will take centre stage in the Raw lookbook. Absolutely amazing. So we launched this on Monday the 1st of November. The closing date will be the 7th of February next year. That's 2022. Judging will take place on the 21st of February 2022. The photo shoot will be on the 21st of March 2022, and that'll be at Radley in Essex, and that's the MH Feds headquarters. Wonderful. So yeah, we're looking for basically an editorial cut and finish. We want before and after photographs, front, back and side views, and this is open to learners or apprentices at any level currently in education. And also we'd like a testimonial that's got to be submitted alongside the application form from their education provider to confirm that they are still in active training. So, you know, guys, you know, it's exciting. You know, it's really, really exciting. You know, we've done 2 years of COVID. We're back out there. Everybody wants to showcase, and we have got some talented learners and apprentices out there who, you know, are our future. So please, please push this wonderful competition with in association with MH Feds City and Guilds and MH Feds. So that's that one, and then I think we're coming on to questions. Do we have any more questions, Emma, or have we exhausted them? We've got a few minutes to go.
I'm just going to have another look and see if there's anything else in there. No, there's nothing else at the moment.
Okay, so questions, you know, if anybody wants to email me, the next slide's going to give you mine and Emma's details. So obviously these are our details, and it's also we'll put the link there to the COVID web pages for you. So all the updates will be on there, but I will state, please sign up for email updates because you will get everything there. If anybody needs any team training, so if you want to bring your team together for an hour and do a Teams meeting, and I'll come in there and do a one-to-one Teams meeting with you or Zoom meeting, please, please, please get in touch with me. The next slide I've put in here is really important for us. It's the hair and beauty survey link and QR code from this webinar. We can only run these webinars if it's right for you guys. What do you want to hear? What do you want in a webinar? I'd really like to be honest and open on your feedback, and please, 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 you know, either go onto the forms link or go onto the QR code. There's two, the second slide, you've got the QR code and the link to the forms, and I've also put this one at the end just in case I forgot, which I did in the beginning. So it's there for you, but it, you know, it does shape how your webinars are going to run moving forward. And obviously all it leaves me to say is to thank you all for listening to me waffle on, and I'd like to thank you Emma as the industry manager for supporting me on this webinar, and Diane Mitchell as our lead endpoint assessor, and Rebecca Hollenby as our partnership manager for endpoint assessment. I'd like to thank you both for spending the time to, you know, support our customers on today's webinar. And I will leave it there and wish you all a very, very good day.